Welcome to Outlaw Theology with the Whiskey Preacher. I'm your host, Phil Shepard, better known as the Whiskey Preacher. And my special guest today is Steve Knight of Missional Shift, also a blogger here on Patheos. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you for flying me in, Phil.
Oh, yeah. I flew you in just for this vidcast. Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
I know. It's good stuff, isn't it?
Top-notch production.
Well, I do what I can.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about ratings.
That's right. Thank you to the corporate sponsors.
Yeah, whoever you are. Okay, that's awkward.
Click on that ad.
That ad, yeah. Anyway. So Steve and I got in a conversation just a little bit ago about our fellow blogger, Tony Jones, here on Patheos, about his blog post yesterday on...
Highest trafficked blog post in Tony Jones' Theology history.
Ever.
Congrats, Tony.
Yeah, congrats, Tony. You can send us some of the money since we're talking about it, for a brief moment. Anyway, Tony's blog post was about Mitt Romney endorsement from Billy Graham.
Right.
And we
endorsement
got in a heated, not debate, but conversation. It was animated.
Yeah.
It was an animated conversation about Franklin Graham and his, should I say, puppet strings that he has on Billy at the moment? Like The Godfather?
You could say that.
Yes.
You could say that.
And Steve got real heated about it, so I wanted to do this vidcast about the Franklin Graham conspiracy and Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Since it's election time here on Patheos, Patheos election is the hashtag, if you want to check it out on Twitter. So tell me a little bit about your rant, because Tony quotes you in his post, that an article that you did on the Huffington Post about a month and a half ago, about how Billy is really not making the calls anymore. It's really Franklin pulling the strings, if you will.
So Billy Graham doesn't take a high-profile meeting like this, with the one that he had a week or so ago with Mitt Romney, without Franklin Graham's approval, without Franklin Graham being there for the photo op. Just look at the pictures. There's Franklin sitting right next to Billy. That just doesn't happen without Franklin Graham's involvement in helping to orchestrate that. Does Billy Graham really, support Mitt Romney and everything that Mitt Romney stands for, as he's quoted as saying, "I will do all I can to support you"? I'm sure that he said that, and I'm not skeptical about that. I'm wondering why he said that, why he had a meeting with a presidential candidate a week before Election Day, or a month before Election Day, excuse me.
Even though he said in an article in Christianity Today a year and a half ago that some of his biggest mistakes, some of the things that he would go back and do,
right,
was not endorse another candidate like he did with Nixon.
Right. So this is an interview that Billy Graham gave a year and a half ago to Christianity Today, in which he said, "I would not do that today," meaning I would not cross the line in getting involved in politics. And yet, a year later, in the state of North Carolina, we had an anti-gay constitutional amendment in which the Billy Graham organization, using Billy Graham's name, his picture on full-page ads in newspapers across the state, promoting this constitutional amendment, Amendment 1, which did get passed into law, which is now the law of the state of North Carolina. Billy Graham's name on that. That was sort of a strange sort of foray into this political arena. Again, uncharacteristic of Billy Graham, since he had done in the past and gotten too involved in politics, got schnookered by Richard Nixon, had to apologize for it later, expressed all kinds of regret, like he did in the Christianity Today interview. So then what happens is Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day. Actually, before that, the Billy Graham organization issued a fundraising letter that included all kinds of sort of apocalyptic language. Again, I would say very uncharacteristic of Billy Graham, talking about America is, in trouble and going to hell in a handbasket and this sort of thing. And then the third sort of weird thing was this Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, where a statement is issued by Billy Graham saying, I support the Cathy family. In fact, I support them so much, I'm going to go to a fucking Chick-fil-A and eat a chicken sandwich.
Out of his mountain home. And
he's going to leave his home in Montreat to go to his local fast food chain and eat a chicken sandwich. And urging everyone reading this message to go and do the same on Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day. Well, of course, a few days later, the Billy Graham organization had to issue a clarification. We didn't really mean that Billy was actually going to go to Chick-fil-A. We just meant that he's going to have Chick-fil-A bought and brought to him at his home. And sure enough, the press release came out, the next day. Billy ate a chicken sandwich with waffle fries and a chocolate milkshake.
Now you're making me hungry.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. That is when I wrote this article for Huffington Post, really questioning why this series of things was happening. So here's what's happened since then. And that article was read and
you
shared pretty widely.
Yeah, because you took a lot of flack from the Billy Graham Association because you're a former employee.
That's right.
Of the Billy Graham Association.
I guess we should say that. I worked for Billy Graham for 6 years. I never worked directly for Billy Graham. I haven't met Billy Graham. I don't know Billy Graham. I've never claimed that. I did
you
work
moved
closely with Franklin
from Minnesota to North Carolina
on some projects.
to keep your job with them.
Yeah.
And that's how you ended up in North Carolina is
That's
with
right.
the Billy Graham Association.
Right.
But you took a lot of flack for this article from people who are still associated with the Billy Graham Association or people that you've worked with in the past that are no longer even affiliated with them.
Yeah, I have former colleagues and coworkers from my time working for the Billy Graham Association, some of whom are very much in agreement with me on the things that I've said, some who are in disagreement. The interesting thing is right now, as I've raised concern over this quote-unquote endorsement of Mitt Romney, and by the way, what happened immediately after that was the Billy Graham organization removed an article from its website that called Mormons cult members. So there was and then a watchdog group picked up on this, and it made it onto the homepage of CNN.com earlier this week, which is why we're talking about this. So there's this sort of cover-up. Not only is Billy Graham meeting with Mitt Romney, he's quote-unquote endorsing him, saying, I'll do all I can to help you, presumably win the election. And then you have this, trying to sort of sweep under the rug this evangelical concern that the Mormon religion is a cult and not a Christian denomination.
Which I've mentioned that a couple different times here on Outlaw Theology, that I find it fascinating that since a religious right evangelical is not in the race this year, that didn't make it to the finals, that they have receded all their things that they've said about the Mormon religion for years. I mean, I grew up Southern Baptist, and I was always told that it was of Satan, it was a cult.
Absolutely.
And now the same people that said that are now endorsing Mitt Romney because he has aligned himself with the religious right.
And sweeping and hiding and sort of trying to push aside and kind of sweep under the carpet those concerns that had been raised in the past.
Yeah.
And this is really my concern, because even Tony Jones in his blog post about this said, he doesn't consider the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, a cult, quote unquote. Yeah. I wouldn't call them that either, but like you said, I was raised and taught the exact same thing in an evangelical home. My Mormon relatives, they were not Christians. They were not going to the same place that we were going to when we die.
Because they were going to go to the little worlds with all their wives. Sorry.
And this is the interesting thing to me. I totally understand what is happening in terms of alignment around social issues. And so you have religious right, conservative, fundamentalist evangelicals lining up with the candidate who agrees with them on gay marriage, abortion, etc. And this is the thing that Tony talks about in his blog post as well, is like, but evangelicals have always been about orthodoxy, right belief, and everything stems from that right belief. If you don't have the right beliefs, then you're going to get everything else wrong. And I'm sorry, Mormons do not have the same Christology that evangelical Christians have. So this is not the same Jesus theologically. And yet they're willing to now kind of brush that aside so that they can support the candidate who most aligns with them on social issues, to which I say, just be honest about that, evangelicals. Come on, this is my tribe. I grew up evangelical. I got kicked out a few years ago because I love the gays. The gays are okay.
It's okay to be gay.
It's okay to be gay. I think God is okay with that.
Amen.
And that's where the line in the sand is drawn. But here we go. Let's just be honest. I want to tell my evangelical friends, just be honest about this. Say, if you really believe it, say, no, Mitt Romney's not a Christian, but we agree, we think he's the best candidate on these issues, and therefore that's why we're going to support him. Don't hide this stuff. Don't sweep it under the carpet. And the thing that really pisses me off, and trust me, I realize I'm a very unlikely defender of Billy Graham's legacy, which is why I'm really just the one going, why aren't there more people calling out this shit that Franklin Graham is doing as the leader of this organization now? I will just say, putting words in Billy Graham's mouth and destroying his legacy. Destroying his legacy because, you know what? God damn it, there's going to be an obituary when Billy Graham dies now, and you know what's going to be in it? There's going to be Amendment 1, and there's going to be fucking Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Thank you, Franklin Graham.
Well, I also find it fascinating, going back just a little bit, so CNN puts this article that was on the Billy Graham Association website about how Mormons are going to hell and how they're a cult. And they pull that off, and then this month in Decision magazine, Franklin Graham writes an article why it's okay for evangelicals to vote for a Mormon. Right.
So this is the interesting thing, and CNN got a statement from Ken Barron, who works for Franklin Graham, is in the top leadership of the Billy Graham organization now, saying, we removed that article from our website because this issue has been too politicized during this election year, and we don't want to be involved in that. And that's why we removed this article. To which I say, that's BS. Because in this issue, the October 2012 issue of Decision magazine, which is the publication of the Billy Graham organization, whole cover story is political. The whole feature is America on the Road to Destruction, a feature story from conservative columnist Cal Thomas on a nation out of control, and, among other articles, one from Franklin Graham, at least in his name, because he doesn't write any of this stuff either. The stuff that has Billy Graham's name on it, he didn't write that. Franklin Graham, he didn't write that. But it's got his name on it, and it's why evangelicals can vote for a Mormon. That's the article in this issue of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association's magazine. How is that saving people? How is that sharing the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, which is the mission of this organization? It's not. No. And I don't think you have to be. I think anybody, whatever their theological position is on this, can see that, and which is why even my conservative friends, former colleagues from the Billy Graham organization, agree with me on this, that it's a bad move, even if they agree with Franklin on the ideology. They're on the same page as Franklin ideologically, but they say, you know what, this really is, we don't get this. We don't understand why Franklin is taking the organization down this path and making these kinds of decisions and using the imprimatur of Billy Graham, using the whole weight of this $500 million a year evangelistic association on these issues. Billy Graham issues a statement. I'm going to be 94 years old the day after the election this year, and I'm concerned about the direction our nation is headed in. I'm urging all Americans to vote for the candidates who will do what? support the biblical definition of marriage, protect the sanctity of life, and protect our religious freedoms. Okay, when has Billy Graham ever come out telling people to vote in an election? It may have happened in the past. It hasn't happened in the recent past. And I think it's really uncharacteristic. And just look at that language. That is religious right language. And I'm sorry, Billy Graham was not a part of the religious right. No. He stayed out of that. He stayed above the fray. He wasn't in there with the Jerry Falwells of the religious world. And so now we have Billy Graham speaking out on these social issues.
So you really don't
bizarre.
think it's necessarily Billy that's saying this, but this is almost, if we can put it, a Franklin Graham conspiracy that he is, again, representing his father in ways that his dad would necessarily say. Right.
So the argument that the pushback that I'm getting from folks is that, no, this is really what Billy Graham believes, and he's just saying it. He's finally saying it, and I can see that's a possibility. After my Huffington Post article came out, the New York Times actually went after an interview with Franklin Graham, asked him to confirm. A big piece of what I was arguing in that article which is Billy Graham doesn't write this stuff. These aren't his words. This language, this religious right language, it's not coming from Billy Graham. It has his name on it, and presumably he's given his approval for it in some way. He's, signed off on it, and so he's culpable. He's going to have to take responsibility for this stuff. But the New York Times asked Franklin Graham for an interview with Billy to confirm, to get him on the record directly talking about his views on homosexuality, talking about his views on politics. And Franklin Graham's response was, that's not going to happen. And my question is, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Because if this is really Billy, if this is what really Billy Graham believes, and this is what Billy Graham is really concerned about now, in his old age, that he's willing to put his whole legacy on the line to take a stand on these political issues, go back into the fray of politics a year after saying he would never do that, then why not let him sit down with a reporter? It doesn't have to be the New York Times. We know how liberal they are. You can't trust them, right? Have him sit down with CBN,
Or me.
Or the Whiskey Preacher.
Yeah, because I'll be fair.
Phil loves some Billy. Philly loves some Billy.
Philly loves some Billy.
Why not allow that interview to happen? Go on, talk to who does Billy love? What's his name? Larry King. Is he still alive?
I think he's as old or older than Billy Graham.
I think so too. He's not on TV anymore, but they would have an equally interesting conversation. Two old guys talking.
Gumming it up?
Yeah.
Did I just say that? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Gumming it up.
Talking about health and the weather. And
Mitt Romney and how it's okay to vote for Mormons.
Yeah. Let Billy talk to somebody and go on the record, and at least then we know. And there's no question that this is Billy or this is Franklin who is actually saying this stuff.
Well, thank you for joining us today on Outlaw Theology with the Whiskey Preacher. Thank you for venting.
Thank you for letting me rant.
If you haven't checked out Steve's blog, it's Missional Shift, also in the Progressive Christian portal here on Patheos. If you want to dialogue about this conversation on Twitter, again, the # is Whiskey Preacher, and the # for Patheos is Patheos Election. Do you have a Twitter handle for your Patheos? Or
I am at Nightopia
on Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter.
So you can do hashtag Nightopia or Nightopia, as I like to put it. He hates it when I say that, but that's what friends do. Don't forget to have this conversation on Facebook. You can go over here. I think it is. I always forget where it's at. Go to Whiskey Preacher fan page. Don't forget to like it and have this conversation there. I look forward to your comments, and the question I want to throw out to all of you is, do you think Billy Graham is actually saying this stuff or is it more a Franklin Graham thing that he is pulling the strings of his dad, and at least his dad's name? Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you later.